just had a great feeling, just something about Clemson University, and I was like, this is where I want to play.
Yeah, so there was something about these hills. Huh?
Something about these hills,
Good,
yes.
Good. Well, you talked about the books that you saw at South Carolina State. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit. This may age you.
Okay, it probably will.
Now, I'm 46 years old.
Right, I'm a little older.
You're a little older.
Yes.
But I can remember seeing some of the media guides from Clemson University, and that's when they would have the football players as kind of the cartoon images.
Yeah.
And I can remember seeing you on some of those, and some of your teammates, Wayne Simmons, and that legendary linebacker core, seeing some of those images. And I would go through those books, and I would say, man, I would just love to meet Levon Kirkland and some of those other players that were with you at that time. Right. And I grew up, my family grew up around Clemson, around Calhoun, so you could almost hear game days on Saturdays. And so we were enamored with just Clemson University and the way that you guys played defense especially. So those guys, you know, a lot of kids, they seek those guys when they're at the game day still now.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed at how they know each player's number and where they're from and can tell you, you know, all the different stats. But that's pretty amazing that you got some inspiration from that.
Oh yeah, you know, when I first got to Clemson, I was one of those guys, when they send you the program as a recruiting tool, I would look at almost every player and I would read where they're from, everything. And so when I got to Clemson, I knew guys on the team.
Yeah.
They didn't know who I was, but I knew all those guys on the team. And I was like, oh man, that's so-and-so. Oh, that's so-and-so. But that kind of comes from I'm a big reader of comic books. And I love origin stories. I love to know where people come from and how they became who they became. And it was always very interesting to me. So I was that kid as well. I knew all the players on that team. I knew all the players from South Carolina as well. It was kind of like a nerd in me, I guess. But yeah, I can really relate to those kids, yeah.
So this is last Clemson story that I'll kind of relate to before I get into the book. C.J. Spiller,
yes,
who is another humble soul, just like yourself, just recently was inducted into Clemson Ring of Honor, Hall of Famer.
Yes.
But there's something that you know very well. And when you saw him get inducted into the Hall of Fame, did that bring back, the Ring of Honor, excuse me, did that bring back any memories for you?
Of course it did. To see his emotions brought back a lot of emotions for me, because it almost seemed like your life is being displayed on the big screen. And what I thought about, honestly, was I thought about my former wife, who passed away 10 years ago. Miss Keisha, you know, Channel 4. I thought about my mother, Helen. I thought about my brother, Ernest, who all of them have passed along, but I mostly thought about my father. And I remember something my father told me. He told me one day, we were talking, he said, you know, I never really thought a son of mine would go to Clemson and do as well as you have done. And I kind of looked perplexed, and I was like, Dad, what you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? He said, you know, in my day, you know, we just never imagined going to Clemson. And I thought but now I thought about the last name. Not so much the Levon part, but the Kirkland part. And I thought about the legacy, and I thought about the last name. And that almost brought a tear to my eye, because I knew that his name, my namesake, was going to be on that stadium forever. And you know, I'm so happy for things changing, and that his son was able to do something that maybe he couldn't do. And so to have that name on there means a whole lot, because that's forever. And so, you know, my grandkids, my great niece, nephew, they'll see that name on there, and they'll have a story to tell.